Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drake Queen Gaming, and 70 Mount Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with the Let's Play episode of Repeat, Sissel's Path. Now that I'm further into the game, this part right here is making a lot more sense, and... oh boy. Oh, Jinny. I mean, who? I don't know anyone named that. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Oh boy. Okay. The airport speaker suddenly blared to announce our flight's departure. I blinked and shook my head furiously. Never mind. We should probably hurry over to our departure gate. We all loaded into our plane without too much fuss. Looked like everyone managed to snag seats together this time around. Before long, we were roaring through the evening air on our way back to Gerania. Almost everyone immediately fell into an exhausted snooze. Sissel let out little quiet snores as he nuzzled his face into my shoulder as a makeshift pillow. Unfortunately, sleep seemed to completely evade me. There was a strange, nagging feeling in my gut, like I had forgotten something important, but I couldn't quite pinpoint what. I let out a sigh and glanced out the airplane window, where the clouds were soaring past us. I was stuck with the middle seat, but luckily it seemed like the window seat next to me was empty, leaving a clear view of the evening sky as its golden hues slowly bled into a deep lavender. The stubborn nagging in my chest did not subside. I tried distracting myself by absent-mindedly shuffling through the stack of photographs we've taken during the trip. As I laid out the photos on a little retractable table on the seat in front of me, it happened again. Suddenly, icy pain seized my chest like a knife, and I doubled over, scattering the photos across the floor. I rasped weakly, clutching my stomach as the world faded around me, only to be replaced by a frozen numbness. Somewhere amongst the rush of blood pounding in my splitting headache, I felt Sissel clutch my shoulder and desperately ask what was wrong. I wasn't sure how to answer. I've had these kinds of episodes before, but this one felt exponentially worse, as though something was being torn from me. The pain refused to subside. My lungs burned as I clutched Sissel's arm in a white-knuckled grip, the world spinning around me. Something was very wrong. Jinny stared softly over the sunset as the plane sailed over the warm orange hues of the sky into the lavender of night, soon to disappear over the horizon. A melancholic twinge tugged at her chest, and she let out a long, bittersweet sigh. Looks like my time is up. She reached out a hand towards the tiny speck in the sky, tracing its path gingerly before dropping her arm with a wistful smile. I always knew I was on borrowed time. It's high time I gave it back. Haley appeared wordlessly at her side. Her head hung low as she clutched Jinny's hand in a desperate grip. Her gaze was fixed downward, refusing to meet her eyes. Jinny smiled and gently squeezed her hand. Hey, there's no need to be so torn up. Things went pretty damn well this time around. Everyone lived, everyone's happy, and Sissel's shining brighter than I've ever seen him. I'm more than satisfied. Haley did not lift her head, but Jinny could hear the tremble in her voice. But what about you? Jinny returned her gaze skyward, where the black of night was slowly beating across the horizon. I was just a little kid when we first met, on that quiet night. When that brilliant comet streaked across the sky in my hospital window, I clasped my hands together and wished to have a little more time. You've given me more than I ever dreamed of. I found friends, joy, and a life outside of those pale hospital walls. Just don't you ever put yourself down, Haley. You've done more than enough. Jinny sighed once more, her gaze tracing the tiny plane streaking across the sky. It's time for me to go. Before I leave, I'd like to ask for one last favor. That thing I mentioned this morning, is it done? Yes. A soft chuckle escaped her lips. Thanks, I've never been good at goodbyes. Best leave all the sad parts behind. This is a happy ending after all. It should be filled with smiles and laughter instead of folks fussing over me. Haley? Yes. Thank you for being in my life. It's been great. Oh, did she wish for them to forget? I blinked and sucked in a deep breath of air. My headache suddenly subsided, washed away like the dark fettered waters across warm sand. Everything suddenly felt lighter, like a great weight had been lifted from my shoulders. The icy pain, the stubborn gnawing in the back of my skull was gone. I sucked in another deep breath and lifted my head, glancing around in a daze. Adrian, you alright? Take it easy. Airplane sickness is no joke. I'll ask a flight attendant for a bag if you need it. No, I think I'm fine now, thanks. Sissel gave me a concerned frown, but didn't push it. I fell back into my seat with a strained sigh and rubbed my eyes. That was odd, to say the least. These episodes had been happening with increasing frequency, but this one felt different. Like a stretched rubber band finally snapped, and the stress of it all had finally been released. I glanced back at the pile of photographs and began picking through them again, if only to keep my mind occupied with something other than the fading ache in my skull. I plucked one of the photos out from the pile and frowned. It was my favorite photo of the bunch. The group photo we all took together on the stage of the culinary competition. As I stared at it for several moments, my vision grew blurry and my head swam. I rubbed my eyes and blinked. Huh? Had that weird foggy blotch always been there? That's not good. It ruined a perfectly good photo. I rubbed my eyes again and was surprised to find them wet with tears. What was this weird feeling? There was a strange twinge in my chest, like I was forgetting something important. But what? Sissel suddenly nudged me, his voice full of concern. Sorry, that was kind of an emotional moment. Sissel suddenly nudged me, his voice full of concern. You doing okay, Adrian? Yeah, I'm fine. Just recovering from my headache, that's all. But the tears continued to slowly stream down my cheeks, and I still couldn't pinpoint why. Sissel leaned in close and grasped my hand, and I squeezed back gently. I felt very warm as I rested on his shoulder. I was safe here, surrounded by friends. I should be happy. I should be satisfied. But I couldn't help but feel like a thread had been cut from this perfect picture. Day 30. Repeat. We returned home and several days passed without incident. School continued like nothing had happened, but Sissel became the talk of Girani after winning the school another prestigious reward for the staff to flaunt around. Today, Mr. Rokoff spent nearly 20 minutes bragging about how this achievement was another mark on his prestigious teaching history and profusely patted himself on the back. Sissel himself was more annoyed about the attention than anything else, but he took this as a chance to promote Herschel's Cafe's grand reopening. There was a light bounce to his step these days. His smiles were a little wider and his voice a little brighter. It made my chest flutter with an embarrassing mix of pride and fondness. All felt right in the world. Almost. There was still a strange, nagging feeling at the pit of my gut that I couldn't quite place, like there was something not quite right. Was it just my imagination? Had I been wading through problems trying to fix things for so long that I couldn't even enjoy a happy ending anymore? It was hard to tell. I must have been wearing a troubled look on my face because halfway through Mrs. Corliss's lecture I felt a gentle nudge to my side. Hey, Adrian, are you okay? You've been glaring at the whiteboard for the past 10 minutes. The assignments aren't that bad. Huh? I'm fine. Just daydreaming, that's all. Did I miss anything important? Sissel's eyes brightened with a wide grin. Actually, yes. Did you hear? There's going to be another meteor shower tonight. They say the sky is going to be completely filled with shooting stars. Again? Wasn't there a meteor shower like a month ago? Yeah, but I missed that one. This sounds romantic as fuck, so I'm going to be dragging you onto the roof tonight so that we can watch it together over some tea and cookies. What do you say? I pursed my lips with a teasing smile. Tea and cookies? When did you suddenly become an old British grandpa? Sissel looked unimpressed. Old people don't hold exclusive rights to tea and baked goods, Adrian. I've already prepped some chocolate chip dough at the cafe for tonight. Are you really going to deny me a romantic date? I laughed and flopped my head against his shoulder, which was quite an accomplishment considering how far apart our desks were. Of course not. What time does it start? Just a little after it gets dark. We should have enough time to visit Boss and bake the cookies before it starts. He was cut off by the shrill wail of the school bell. As a wave of students immediately hopped to their feet and started piling out of the classroom, Sissel and I waded our way towards the teacher's desk. Mrs. Corliss was staring down at her desk and did not notice us approaching. She had been acting oddly distracted the last few days. Out of all the teachers in the school, she was the most excited about Sissel's work at the culinary tournament, but she had barely mentioned it since we got back. There was a melancholic look on her face, and she would occasionally space out, staring off in a daze as though struggling to remember something. Mrs. Corliss? Mrs. Corliss blinked and gave us a warm smile. Ah, Cecil, or should I call you Mr. Bradley these days? Cecil flushed slightly. Oh, yeah, I guess that's my real surname. I've been thinking of getting it legally changed to Bradley, but the paperwork is a mess. Oh, yeah, Cecilia. Oh, yeah, Mrs. Corliss's voice. Cecilia went through something similar after she left home and changed her surname. It was quite a hassle, but I think she found the results quite freeing. I'm sure you'll feel similarly fulfilled once you get it done. Thanks, Teach. Cecil blinked. A thought visibly crossed his mind, but it seemed to leave it quickly as it came. He frowned for a moment before moving on. Well, anyway, I just wanted to stop by and say thanks for all your help leading up to the culinary competition. I don't think I would have made it this far without you supporting me through everything, so, thank you. I'm really grateful. Mrs. Corliss forced out another warm smile. You earned this victory yourself, Mr. Bradley. I'm just grateful for the chance to see another student growing into their best self. I tilted my head curiously. If you don't mind me asking, are you feeling all right? You seem a little down lately. Mrs. Corliss frowned and rubbed her eyes tiredly. My, I must be really getting on with the years if it's that obvious. I apologize if I don't appear as enthusiastic as I should be. To be perfectly honest, I don't know what's wrong. Or if there's anything wrong at all. She let out a sigh. There's just this cloud hanging over me, I fear. I feel a strange, constant worry for something or maybe someone. But it's like that thing is missing now, but the worry is still there. Mrs. Corliss shook her head slowly and shot us another soft smile. Now don't you worry. I won't have my own students fretting over little old me. Be off, you two. Your next class will be starting soon. Cecil and I exchanged concerned looks before reluctantly leaving. I couldn't help but glance over my shoulder as the classroom doors swung closed behind us. The image of Mrs. Corliss slouching over her desk in a melancholic daze burned itself into my mind. She looked terribly lonely. The rest of the school day... Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there, y'all. Alrighty, thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. If you don't want to donate to our Patreon, you can always donate using Super Thanks on YouTube. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!